We should absolutely be safe, but not ridiculous. First, a summary of some newer information. The US and Europe strain was discovered to be a mutation called D614G. This mutation features 4 to 5 times the number of functional spikes, and those are the things that allow the virus to bind to the cells. So basically, that means it's a lot more infectious, but the effects are not different as far as they know. There was a study from Spain that concluded herd immunity is impossible because 14% of people who had antibodies lost them weeks later. There's a huge lack of information here, though. According to 2 studies, the vast majority of those who get infected have mild or no symptoms. And in that case, your immune system might only develop temporary antibodies or might not develop any, like it does with the cold. Or it can become dormant and reactivate later, like with herpes and HIV. The study is getting lots of attention because people want to ruin the world, apparently, but it doesn't really say anything at all. Oxford put out a study saying UK herd immunity is high enough, since they're saying people in the UK already have high levels of immunity without having caught it. I noticed that didn't get any attention, though. I will add that there was one study that showed some of the asymptomatic individuals from that cruise ship in Japan had lung damage, despite not feeling pain or sickness or short of breath or anything. We'll need a lot more replication to verify this extraordinary finding, but I still wanted to mention it. Ivermectin seems to be working as a treatment based on a couple of studies, and hydroxychloroquine has been vindicated in yet another study showing its effectiveness, with even CNN begrudgingly admitting it at midnight so no one sees it. And also, the Food and Drug Administration are being sued for keeping the drug from being used in hospitals by the Association of American Surgeons and Physicians. So, basically, Democrats in the US are technically killing people by banning it because they want to make Trump look bad. And we can see in this chart, comparing country death rates to more or less HCQ usage, that there is a strong correlation. Still, Twitter and YouTube will delete videos of doctors talking about it, but won't delete content of those discussing the negative HCQ studies that had to be retracted for making shit up. Silicon Valley hates you. Speaking of things we already knew, lockdowns are not working, according to 3 European studies, and Peru, who had a strict lockdown, also had a larger death rate per capita than Brazil, who didn't have a lockdown. Sweden is also doing fine, with infections increasing and deaths almost gone, which is really pissing everyone off because they literally didn't do anything. So the US ruined its economy for nothing, and we already know the US death count is completely unreliable. Now, Korea is currently freaking out due to another outbreak. Schools are using these retarded desk shields that do nothing except scare children, and everyone thinks masks will save your life, but let's be intellectually honest. We all know that masks block at best about 80% of dust particles. Viruses are smaller than dust, right? So let's say masks block around 40 to 50%. That's certainly better than nothing, and I'd recommend using a mask. But no one is wearing construction glasses like I was back in March. People either forgot or don't know that the virus is airborne, but you're not covering your eyes and pretend you're holier than thou because of a mask. It's like how we build houses in nature and then scream, "How did a bug get in here? What the fuck?" Seems a bit retarded. I don't know. I'm just warning people before you do insane shit, like make people wear masks while using Zoom, or having police assault people without masks, even though this person in particular is not supposed to, according to the doctor, because of her lung condition. A teacher did die in Jeju from wearing a mask, by the way. This is not the Black Plague. The purpose of living is not to avoid death 24/7. Early on, it seemed like the death rate was high, so most people took this very seriously, understandably. However, a lot of these countries' death rates have gone from hundreds per day to 0 to 10. 99% of deaths in Italy were of people already sick. 99% of Minnesota deaths are from nursing homes or sick people. It's about 90% for a bunch of other states. In Korea, we've currently got a case fatality rate of 13% for those 80 or older. It's half that for 70 to 79, about 2% for 60 to 69, and less than 1% for everyone else. This is the same in New York and Sweden. So basically, around the world, it blazed through the most vulnerable people and petered out. Korea didn't allow that to happen. So one could argue that you're just delaying the inevitable. I know you're proud of being praised for your response. Also, since Hong Kong and Taiwan aren't allowed to be acknowledged by Western media, even though they did better. But can we still praise Korea's response if, at the end of everything, we see a similar death rate per capita? Or will we just quarantine all travelers forever? Please learn from the West's mistakes and don't destroy people's businesses. As many doctors are saying, quarantining those at risk and the elderly makes sense, but even then, if an old guy wants to take a risk and walk around, that's his right, if he's not a 확진자. Speaking of 확진자, I'm getting the impression people are conflating 확진자 with 사망자. You're forced to hospitalize if you test positive. But it doesn't mean you die. It doesn't mean you're even sick. It's just the policy. I'm very confused by how people are shocked a virus with an R naught of 5 or 6 keeps infecting people. like we saw, infection rates and death rates are opposed in a lot of places right now. Korea may be delaying infections just like they're delaying deaths. London and New York City are actually flatlining in new cases. We'll see if there's a second wave or not, I guess. Still, hyperfocus on it doesn't help. If you hyperfocus on tuberculosis cases in Korea every year, you'd never leave your house because it's the only OECD country with a high prevalence. In 2016, you had 77 per 100,000 people die from that, and now you have 6 per 1 million dying from Wufu. Calm down.
If you're still scared, you're welcome to join me.
For the love of God, please stop pretending we're going to get a vaccine. There's never been a vaccine for a coronavirus, several of which have already caused pandemics over the past 100 years. There's not going to be one now. Unless you count the one where they're skipping all the safety trials while the media parrots, it looks promising. But more on the Wu-Flu vaccine and Bill Gates in the next video.